welcome everyone to the first Meet the 818 Zoom interview. We are live with Miss Mia Manansala. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Manansala, yes.
Manansala, okay. And she is the author of Arsenic and Adobo. Yay! I mean, not here, but on her page. Even though she is not a Meet the 818 local, there's always value in supporting local authors from different areas and just hearing about different stories. So, Miss Mia, tell us a bit about yourself. How long have you been writing and your background as a writer, pretty much.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm Mia P Manansala. I'm Filipino-American, born and raised in Chicago. My writing journey. So first of all, Arsenic and Adobo is my debut novel. It's a culinary cozy, and cozy is like a subgenre of mystery where it's like I like to call it like the Hallmark of mysteries, because it's basically like, even though there's like dead bodies, like there's no graphic violence, like no sex on the page, nothing like, like I like literally wrote a book that my mother could read. I wrote this book for her, basically, for me and for her. My mom has always been a big mystery fan, and she's the one who got me into the genre. But we never really saw books that had, characters like us. So I wanted to put our ourselves, our experience, our lives on the page, in a way that's just, not most writers of color, or especially I've noticed like the Filipino Americans writers I do know, a lot of the really like big important names are like they like literary fiction or poetry, right? Like beautiful writing and intensely important subjects. But those are like the more like the struggle, like the trauma. And I want to see books with characters like me out there where it's not just about my pain. I want to see us having adventures and falling in love and all that good stuff. So I wrote the book I've been wanting to see for a while.
Oh, that is amazing. Honestly, I as a Filipino American myself, and you are completely right. All of the books that I've come across, it's always serious. It's the Filipino American experience and the struggles of living in America, or just growing up, etc. And I also have been, and this is how I found you, just a search of like something lighthearted, something that's the Filipino American experience, but like a daily thing that you can connect to, something that's just, as he said, going on adventures.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I know that your book isn't out till May 4th.
Yes. Yeah.
Are there any events in between that we should be aware of, or anything that we should be doing to follow, to see what you have in store for us?
Yeah, so I'm not sure how soon this will go up though, because tomorrow there's actually an amazing fundraiser for the AAPI community being held by Loyalty Bookstores, and there are some like amazing names that are taking part. I can't actually believe I'm part of it. I'm super honored to help out. So it's names like oh geez, I'm blanking, like Kat Chow, Kira Madden, Snella Barnes, Sarah Kuhn, Alyssa Cole. Like some big names are really coming together to put on virtual readings and conversations to raise money to support the AAPI organizations, to help with stop the hate crimes and everything like that. So that's like tomorrow, unfortunately. It is, it's April 16th. It's tomorrow, April 17th, at I believe 7 p.m. Eastern. If that's too soon for everybody, I'm also part, I'm doing a reading with all debut crime fiction authors, and it's, so there's been a kerfuffle lately in the crime fiction genre about, it's such a silly word, but I love saying it. Several organizations have been putting on crime writer events, and the panels are like all white. There's been very little diversity. So I'm part of a group called Crime Writers of Color. We're really good about trying to reach out and like do more diverse, inclusive events. So next week, it's 5 debut crime writers who are all of color. Some of us are queer as well, because, you know, intersectionality, we're not just one thing.
Absolutely.
And that is being held by Once Upon a Crime bookstore in Minnesota, but it's obviously it's online, it's crowdcast. So like if you go to my website, miapmanansala.com, there are a list of events I'm part of. And that's next Thursday, the 22nd.
Got it. So next, well, this will air sooner than that, so they'll have,
Okay.
you know, the audience will have a heads up.
Okay, yeah.
So no worries. So I'm curious, why adobo? Like out of all the, I'm just, you know, out of all the Filipino recipes out there, why adobo as part of your title?
So honestly, this is the second title. So when I was querying, which is like the process of trying to find a literary agent, I had a different title, and it's sold as that other title. The original title was Love, Lost, and Lumpia.
I like that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I really like that title, but my editor said, and I agree, I fully agree with them, that they're like, this is a great title, but it doesn't have that mystery feel, right? They want people to look at that title and know what the genre is, which like it's fair, right? Love, Lost, and Lumpia.
Yeah.
It's a fun name, but it kind of sounds like maybe like women's fiction, like, you know, like a person's journey, or, you know, which is very a different feel. And so they were like, what else do you have? And I just made like a list of titles. And like with cozy mysteries, again, because they're more lighthearted and humorous, they usually have cutesy titles or puns or something like that. So I had a couple of like alliteration type names, you know, or like crime word, Filipino food. And this is the one that they chose.
That's awesome. What would be a crime? Let's see. Bashing and beefsteak. So I don't know, man.
Well, I can say, so I can reveal the title for book 2, because that's been approved. Because this is it's a 3-book deal that I have, so I have guaranteed 3 books in the series. Book 2 is titled Homicide and Halo Halo.
All right, I'm
so
in.
It's gonna be following, it's gonna be following that kind of titling thing.
I'm so in. I'm like, please sign me up for your book too. And it's funny, if anyone wants to pre-order, I do have it up.
Oh,
so it was Penguin Random House was your publisher, is your publisher, correct? Okay, and then if they wanted to pre-order, they can go to Barnes and Nobles, Powell's, Target, Walmart, Amazon, all that.
Yeah, it's with the, you know, it's all like the, you know, it's basically like wherever books are sold, like those big ones.
Yeah.
If you go to my website, like at the bottom, like there's a couple of indies that I link to, because I believe in like supporting your local indies if you can.
Absolutely, yes.
And the ones that I link to, if you pre-order from them, you can actually get like a signed copy and some swag as well. You know, like it's like, you know, so like little stickers or bookmarks or book plates and things like that. So like a little incentive to like, you know, maybe try to support these smaller businesses as well.
Absolutely. Had I known that before I ordered from Barnes and Nobles, I would have ordered from them, but my order's out already. So
that's okay. Yeah.
But I'll have other people do that too. So you said,
any support is appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. No. So you said that your mom inspired you to write this book. But what was it about, or sorry, what was it about her being into mystery books that you kind of just said, hey, that's kind of awesome, Mom? Like, did she pass that on to you, or was it just more of her book collection that kind of like triggered some gears and all that?
I mean, yeah, kind of. So, you know, like as a kid, so like I grew up, you know, like in a typical immigrant household, like multi-generational. So it was like, you know, my maternal grandparents and my parents and me and my brothers and cousins. So like growing up, I watched a lot of like older shows with my grandparents. So like you know, my love of mystery goes long. So, you know, I was like a little kid watching like Matlock.
Nice.
And Murder, She Wrote, you know, like those kinds of like grandparent shows, you know, grandparents of my generation, obviously. And then, you know, my mom as a kid, she was like really into Nancy Drew, so she got me into those. And then when I was like in grade school, she started working at Walden Books. I miss those.
Oh, Walden Books. Sorry,
And
that's
so
back.
I know. So she was able to bring home a lot of books. So like booksellers get a lot of like early reader copies, really great discounts and things like that. So I was always a big, like, I would read anything. I just, like there were like Betty Crocker cookbooks. I'm like, I don't know, it's material. And I just wanted to read. So she would bring, and like, she never really restricted me. Like, she was like, oh no, you're too young for that. She would bring home like Mary Higgins Clark. And
Oh.
then she was like, oh, she's like, yeah. She's like, oh, I really like this. I think you would like it too. And I was like 9 or 10 years old. And I'm like, okay. And so I would like buddy read, Mary Higgins Clark with her. And it's kind of continued that way. Like, obviously she doesn't work there anymore because it doesn't exist, but now she works at her local library.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And so, she's a page, so she's the person who shelves the books. And that's, at the library is when she really started getting into cozy mysteries, because I didn't know those existed.
Yeah, this is actually the first time I'm hearing it from you.
Yeah. Yeah, and then yeah, so like there's a whole, like, there's a subgenre within the so cozy, again, is just like any mystery where it's very tame, nothing graphic. But like mine is a culinary cozy, which means like food plays very heavily into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's what my mom found, like there was one that's like it's like about like a cookie baker who solves murders, and she started reading it, and so I started reading it so that we would have something to talk about, to have something in common. And that's kind of like, it just really snowballed from there.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. I'm so glad that your mom had such an influence on that. Just to kind of, because I'm a huge reader.
Yeah.
My daughter is not.
Yeah.
So this is very heartwarming to just see how your mom has influenced your writing and your just, your choices in novel, and just like I'm just, yeah, I just can't wait to read your book already.
Oh, thank you.
It's like, is it May 4th already? Come on. And I know there was an excerpt available, but I'm not going to read that. I just,
Yeah.
I just wanted like firsthand, here's the book, let's just go, So
Yeah.
different recipes. So are there recipes in your in the book?
Yes, actually. There are, I believe, 4 different recipes.
Awesome.
Yeah. Because the book follows, like, so the protagonist, her name is Laila Macapagal, and she works at her family's. So it's her aunt, her Tita Rosie, and her grandmother works there too, her Lola Flor. So like I have recipes that are like, like that are kind of representative of each of those women. And then there's like a bonus recipe, and they're all like Filipino or Filipino inspired.
Got it. Oh, I can't wait. I know. Let's see. So what's it called? As this being your debut novel, was there any other writings that you've published prior to this, or?
Not published. So this is the second novel that I finished. I had another novel that I had before this. It won awards for like unpublished writers. It got me like grants. It got me my first. I'm currently on my second agent. It got me my first agent. It got me really far, actually. Like, for those of you who are writers out there, it doesn't stop at one yes. You have to keep getting, so you have to like finish the book, edit the book, get an agent, find an editor who likes you. And then it doesn't even stop at the editor. For like bigger houses, you have to go to something called acquisitions, which is like the sales team.
Oh, wow.
Where they do like P&Ls, like profit and loss analysis, to see if you're a good investment. So 3 times I found an editor who really, really loved the book, but the sales team thought I wasn't a good investment. They're like, no, we can't sell this, is what they told them. Because my previous book, it was called Death Comes to Comic-Con. And it was a queer Filipino American woman solving crimes at a comic book convention.
Nice.
Yeah. And then for them, they didn't know how to sell that. They didn't know how to market it. They didn't think it would make money. So I got all the way up here just to get that no, those no's.
But I'm surprised. Comic-Cons are a big deal. You would
That's
think,
what I thought,
right?
You
would totally think it would sell. I mean, I know a couple of friends would probably purchase that book.
But there's like, when you're in the industry, like, there's like a big divide between like what readers want and like what publishers think readers want,
Oh,
right? Because
got it. Yes.
because you know, it's basically an investment, right? Because there's no proof that my book will be a success. There's no proof that my book will earn back the money they've already paid me.
Of course.
So it's a gamble. So for them, they want the same but different. And mine was too different in too many places for them to be like, you know, because they want they want comparative titles. We're like, oh, it's just, you know, it's like Jane Eyre but in space. You know, there's nothing like that really for what I had written.
Of course.
And yeah, and if it's too different, then that's a problem as well.
Got it. Well, I was going to ask you if you had any advice for aspiring authors, but there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, also like, but also don't only write to like what's popular or fashionable, because it takes a long time for, you know, I started writing this book in 2018. You know, I sold it 2020. So it like it's coming out about like maybe a little over a year after I sold it. Like between, you know, writing a book, selling a book, publishing a book, that's like 3 to 4 years, you know. So
yes.
you know, if you're writing what's hot now, there's no saying it's going to still be hot years later, right? So
Absolutely.
just, you know, so as disappointing as it was to not have that book that I loved so much get picked up, you know, I still learned a lot. It's not dead. It's just, you know, I have to wait for the right time. Publishing wasn't ready, but maybe they will be later.
Yeah, no,
So,
that's awesome. I mean, maybe later on they'll have like
yeah.
they'll be able to do that, you know?
Yeah.
But I would be interested to read that book. I mean, honestly, I mean, the Comic-Con, I've been to a San Diego Comic-Con, and
Oof, yeah, that's the
can
big
you
one.
imagine trying to figure out who did what, and everyone's in costume, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, I thought there's like so many fun ways to play with that. You know, it's a really, because it's its own world as well. So like, you know, the setting is a character. So
Oh no, absolutely. I got you.
it's okay.
So,
one of these days, right?
yes, one of these days. After you've done your trilogy of Tita Rosie's Kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Then just put that on there. I have a feeling it'll go. That's just me. What was I going to tell you? Or last question, I promise.
Okay.
As a writer, and knowing that there was just such a huge, I mean, just investment in writing and having your own book, what was the biggest challenge you had to face getting through the whole process?
I mean, people talk a lot about like imposter syndrome. Especially with publishing is a very opaque industry, right? There's a lot of like things that you don't really know. There's a lot, and it's a very long process. So for me, I started writing this book when my first book was going out on submission. So my agent was sending it to editors. And you know, like I knew I couldn't just like sit around, you know, twiddling my thumbs, hoping something good was gonna happen. I had to move on to the next thing. So that's why I started writing this. And it was a good thing because that book was on sub for over a year and a half and it never sold, you know, and I would have just been sitting there the year and a half of nothing.
Got it.
But after I finished this book, and while I was writing this book, like my father passed away. So, you know, it's like trying to write through grief, trying to write through rejection, trying to, you know, like trying to push through even when it seemed like nobody wanted like, why do I keep on writing? You know, no one's buying this book. Is there any proof? You know, so just telling myself that it was worth it to keep continuing. And then when I finished this book, my first agent didn't like it. So we had to split up. So not only was I didn't have a book sale, I didn't have an agent, you know, so was it really worth it? And I was lucky enough that I built a community of other writers while I was doing this. Because if you're not a fellow writer, it's kind of hard to know like the nuances, the depths, like the how many steps there are, like how like disheartening it can be with all those rejections. But so like I have a mentor because I was in a writing mentorship program called Pitch Wars. And so Kelly Garrett, she was with me like every step of the way. You know, she was there when I got all those rejections. She was there for me when my father passed. She was there for me when I told her, you know what, I think me and my agent are splitting up. She was there for me when I was looking for a new agent, you know. And so that's probably my biggest advice to other writers out there. Surround yourself with people who are supportive, with people who get what you're going through, who kind of cheer you through the hard times, but will also be like honest with you, because you can't improve and grow as a person or a writer without honest feedback either.
Mhm.
So, I mean, yeah, just basically, and also be ready for a lot of rejection. Um, and it doesn't stop, like I sold this book, but now there are other things that I'm trying to do, other projects, and I've been getting rejections on those too, right? So you just have to learn to keep on working through all of that.
Got it. So what keeps you going? I mean, you as a writer, I mean, just, on a personal level or on a professional level, what keeps you going, and what keeps you coming back to writing, knowing that it's such a process, and it's such a, I don't want to say struggle, it's such an overused word. Uphill battle.
Yeah.
Something, insert not struggle here.
There are times where I do wonder, I'm just like, man, like, why couldn't I have just like really loved math? You know what I mean? Like, and just got into like engineering or accounting like my grandfather wanted me to,
Yes.
But it's just, I'm not the kind of person where I have to write every day. Like, I know there are people who are like, oh, if I'm not if I'm not writing, I lose my mind. I'm like, I'm not that kind of passionate, but I am the kind of, like, there are times where I'm like, why am I in a funk? Why do I feel like, and it's because like, oh, you haven't been writing. Like, there's just something about it that fuels me in a certain way. And also part of it is just, honestly, I'm writing the books that I want to see. Like, it sounds so cliche, but I went until college before I saw a book written by a Filipino. I even remember it's like when the Elephants Dance by Tessa Holt. Like my mom brought it home, and I was just like, oh my god! Not only is it like a Filipino American writer, it's like a World War II book from a non-American perspective. It like blew my mind, And I don't think you should have to go like an entire adult life before you see your own experiences reflected back at you, and of course, like, again, I'm just one person. My experiences are unique to me, like, I am fully aware that there will be Filipino Americans out there who pick up my book and they're like, this doesn't really resonate with me. And that's fine, because we're not a monolith. I could never speak to the Filipino experience.
Absolutely.
I'm only speaking to my own, and that's why I write. It sounds selfish, but I write first and foremost for me, right? And then also I write because I see what it means to people to get that kind of representation. I get like messages on Twitter and on Instagram, people be like, oh my god, I saw your book cover, that title is amazing, I can't believe that there's just like a regular mainstream book with a Filipino character, and it's not about being Filipino, she just gets to be,
Exactly.
and so, the things like that are what help drive me, like my confidence in myself, me wanting to do right by me, and then me also want to do right by the community.
Absolutely. And that's admirable. That is amazing. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
that is, that's just, it's always nice to see to go to like a Barnes and Nobles, or to go to like Powell's, or to go to your local indie bookstore, as you said, and just see like it's a Filipino book, and just that recognition.
Yeah.
I have one of my people over here writing, so it's awesome. As a consumer of books, it's pretty thrilling to just see that. And it's, I mean, you're right. It's not gonna. I mean, I'm hoping it's gonna resonate for the majority of us.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't speak to everyone, it's out there, and that's like for me, it's like for me to have my daughter or my niece or the younger generation see a Filipino American book on the shelf. It's more than I had growing up. So this is awesome. So I'm truly just beyond words excited for you, and just really inspired by you as an author. So
Yeah, thank
Write
you
me this
so
book.
much. Yeah. I mean, yeah, so yeah, no book is for everyone. I get that. Like, I'm not gonna take that personally, but if it could mean something, the way books did to me when I was younger, just like to
Mhm.
one person, it's like, so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so I think this is the part where you tell me where they can find you, follow you, and all that fun stuff, just so that you can promote your book a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. So you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MPM the writer. It's my initials. And again, like my website, it's just my name, miapmanansala.com.
Awesome, awesome. Mia, thank you so much for taking the time and doing this interview. Um, I will tell you, I was nervous because this is the first Zoom interview, but thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. This was fun.
All right. Thank you so much.